Maybe you've heard of this term, maybe you haven't, but universal basic income is basically a new plan where everyone gets free money. Sounds like a perfect world, right? None of us have to work anymore, just gonna get that free paycheck from the government, can all sit around playing video games all day. Well, it turns out that actually more and more local governments are turning to pilot programs and testing this out. They're actually doing this, guys. In fact, one of the places that's doing this is my home state back in Illinois. I'm going to cover a few different stories of people who are actually receiving this and what they have to say about it, and see how they're spending the money, because I'm kind of curious to see what somebody would do with this extra free money. Are they just blowing it all? Are they saving it? Are they investing it? What's happening? Is it actually going to improve their life? And most importantly, what is it going to mean for society overall, right? What is this going to do to people's work ethic? What's it going to do to inflation? I think that's a big one right there. So here's a guy in Illinois. He's getting $500 a month right now for about a year. And where he lives in Cook County, about 233,000 people applied for this program. So he was one of the lucky ones to actually get in and get the free money. And they only picked 3,250 people, so pretty lucky. Now there is an income cutoff, at least for this pilot program. So if you make over a certain amount of money, then you're not qualified for this. It doesn't say what that is, but obviously if you're rich and you're making six figures, you're probably not going to qualify for this. So this guy says he's been using the extra money for this. He's using it to help pay for the skyrocketing expenses that we're all facing right now. He's using it to provide more for his children, including ballet classes, a birthday visit to Disney on Ice, and family trips. And also he was able to avoid a mini emergency when right after a weekend trip, his furnace broke. That was a $700 repair, and he said that would have really set him back if it wasn't for this universal basic income, that extra $500 a month he was receiving. Now, really up until the pandemic, we never really saw anything like this before. You know, during that time, they gave people basically free helicopter money. They sent out all the stimulus checks. I think there was 3 rounds of stimulus checks. I can't remember. I think it was 3. But we've really never seen the government do anything like that up until that time. But around the country, there's been about 150 pilot programs for the universal basic income, and they're testing it out, guys. They're seeing how is this going to go, and is this something governments want to move forward with? And right away, my initial reaction is like, okay, how much is this going to cost people that actually go to work, right? That's like my first reaction. Is this going to be more taxes to give people who don't want to work money? Because if that's the case, I'm totally against it. But say, for example, they take away the budget from things that are not working, like, you know, say they stop welfare programs or something like that. You know, they get people off of that stuff and they start giving away that money in place, and they just give, you know, the universal basic income, and it doesn't change the budget, then it might be something I might be open to. But the whole reason for these pilot programs is to see if it's something that can be implemented nationwide. That's what they're pushing for. I don't know if anybody remembers when Andrew Yang was running for president. That was one of his top priorities if he was going to become president, is to implement some sort of universal basic income program. So right now, a lot of the cities that are doing this, they're using some of the COVID money that they got to test out these universal basic income programs. And so I guess that kind of answers the earlier question. For now, they're not taking extra money out of taxpayers' pockets to fund these things, but in the future I would imagine they would have to, because that was just free money that was given to these local cities from the federal government. And so far, all the people that are receiving this are low to moderate income, and they generally give them about $500 to $1,000 a month for 1 or 2 years. But already in Cook County, they're talking about how they might want to make this a permanent staple of the budget over there, but they're not saying, is this going to be additional taxes that the taxpayers are going to have to pay, or are they going to allocate the money that they're already collecting to a program like this and take it away from something else? Of course, they're never going to tell you anything like that, because that's not up to you. It's up to the crooked politicians. Now, the people who are in favor of this are saying, well, if you look at other rich nations throughout the country, they might not have universal basic income, but they give people free college, they have much cheaper health care, they also have free or very cheap child care. I know that's one of the huge rising expenses in this country right now. But they're saying, in America, we don't give anything like that. Everything is a la carte, everything costs a fortune. And obviously we know that the price that people pay for college these days is a scam, guys, and childcare is going right back up there with it. We see a lot of private corporations getting into the childcare business right now, and they're absolutely gouging people. But here's where the danger comes in, because a lot of the proponents of the universal basic income are saying, no, this is not to replace welfare, like I was saying earlier. This is in addition to welfare. So they want to give people who are already receiving, public benefits, extra money. And we see that some people just ruin it for everyone. There was a woman, I think it was in Washington, D.C. I can't remember if I mentioned this on the channel or not, but she received some sort of universal basic income. It was basically like a $10,000 flat payment. That's what she got. And what did she do? She came down here to Miami and blew it all on a vacation, guys. And this is somebody who receives welfare, receives food stamps, and decided it was a good idea to just blow the money on a vacation. And instead of get ahead in life, instead of use that money. How many people that are trying really hard right now wish they had $10,000 in their bank account as some sort of safety net, and this woman just goes out and blows it. It's like, yeah, government's just going to keep paying me my food stamps and my Section 8 rent, so who cares? Here's another woman in Illinois that's receiving $500 a month, and she says she's still living in poverty despite it. And she works at the Amazon warehouse, 42, single, has no children, and she's worked since she was 15 years old. She's saying that she can't work full time because she has some sort of childhood trauma that gives her PTSD. I don't know, guys. I don't know if it's an excuse or if it's legit, but that's what she says. So she gets disability income, she gets a housing subsidy, and food aid. So very similar to this woman that took all that 10 grand and came down here and blew it in Miami. So she says despite all of her budgeting, the extra cash basically helps her make ends meet. She says much of the money has gone to cover medical expenses, Medicare does not cover dental or vision, and she needs to spend $500 or more per month on that. And 2 years ago, she was diagnosed with a disease and she needs to take supplements and vitamins her doctor recommends, which means spending additional hundreds of dollars per month on stuff like that. She said that the extra $500 a month also gave her extra money to buy Christmas presents for the first time in a while last year, and it allowed her to get a pedicure for her birthday. 1 month's payment was also helped her get a repair on her car done. And she did bring up an interesting point. She says, you need to have income to work because there's only so many jobs within walking distance of where you live. So, you need to be able to drive somewhere and you need to have a car. So it costs money to buy a car, maintain one, pay for insurance, pay for gas. And that is a legitimate point. And I try to sympathize with people because I get that it's hard out there for a lot of people. And when you hear some of these stories, like, I was able to fix my car. I was able to actually do something nice for myself for my birthday. And that really helped me out. It is a heartwarming story, and that's nice, But the problem is, there's always people that are going to abuse the system, right? And they kind of give it a bad name for everyone. And that's where things start to turn south for me. Here's another guy. He's 25 years old. He was unemployed when he applied for the universal basic income. And he was one of the lucky ones to get it as well. He says that he moved in with his girlfriend and he used the extra money to buy groceries and household items, and the payments helped lower his stress and made him feel like I'm contributing more to the household. He also tried to ramp up his side gigs as a driver for Uber and Amazon Flex, but he said because daycare is so expensive, a lot of times it just made more sense for him to stay home and watch their kid rather than go work for Uber or Amazon Flex because the cost of daycare is so expensive. So he finally got a full-time job, but then it meant that his son would need to go to daycare, which would cost about $2,000 a month. And he said that we were only able to put him in daycare because we were getting that extra $500 a month. And he said that their rent is going up again this year, and he still owes about $20,000 in student loan debt. But he feels like he's in better shape now that he has a full-time job. And he says that him and his girlfriend are now planning ahead for when the monthly payment stops, so they can kind of budget better for when they're not going to be getting that assistance anymore. People who are in favor of this also say that it can help people's psychological well-being because it gives people time and the ability to look for a better job without having, the stress and the pressure of having absolutely zero income if you're in between jobs. But a lot of people who are against it are exactly against it for that reason, because if there's no strings attached to the income and there's no requirement to get out there and work, then a lot of people might find ways to skirt the system and just do nothing. You get a combination of welfare, Section 8, food stamps, and then the universal basic income. It's enough to just skate by without really ever leaving the house. So if they are going to implement something like this, they need to make it so you are not eligible to receive all of these different programs. You can't be somebody that just takes advantage of everything. These things are designed to help people out a little bit here and there, but not to completely live off of. Here's what somebody who's against this says. Ultimately, if we want this person to become self-sufficient, if we want the outcome of our safety net to not merely be subsistence, work is a key aspect of flourishing long term. And I agree, guys. Like I said, people shouldn't be able to just languish on these programs forever and not do anything. That shouldn't be allowed. But they say most people, from what they found, use the money to pay for groceries. They make sure they are paying for their car loan. They make sure they're paying the rent, the basic stuff that everybody has to pay for. Most people aren't abusing this. They're using it to pay for their actual expenses. But my big question with all of this is, just like everything else these days, is you don't really know how much of this is actually true, what we're being lied to about, just like all these job figures we get from the government, just like we get inflation data from the government. These could all be just cherry-picked cases of the people who are actually doing good with the money, and then the other 95% are squandering it. We don't know that, because of course whoever wrote this story is probably writing it in the light of this is a good thing. They say that about after 6 months of somebody receiving payments, it gives them more financial stability, and they also see a change in people's psychological well-being and a reduction in psychological stress. And they see that when the money stops coming in, more households start reporting that they do not have $400 for an emergency. But if you think that's bad, guys, it gets worse, because many of you have actually sent me information on this new bill that they're trying to push forward in California, where they want to make it so illegal immigrants are eligible for first-time home buyer loans. Talk about giving away free money, not even giving it away to people that's supposed to be here. So basically what this bill does is it says that an applicant under this program shall not be disqualified solely based on the applicant's immigration status. And if this goes through, it's going to work under this program called the California Dream for All Shared Appreciation Loans Program, which launched in the spring of 2023 to give qualifying first-time homebuyers a loan that covers up to 20% of a property's purchase price that will not accumulate interest or have required monthly payments. So you're telling me you're going to give somebody that's not even supposed to be here 20% of a free house versus somebody that was born and raised in California gets nothing? That's just completely wrong, guys. They shouldn't be giving anybody anything until everybody in this country is looked after, guys. Look how many homeless people there are in California. It's the highest in the country by far when it comes to homeless population. A lot of those people are born and raised Americans. They're living on the street, but yet they're worried about giving illegal immigrants 20% of a home value for free. And keep in mind, home prices in California are through the roof. So that's a lot of money. If say the average home price in California is about $1 million, that's 200 grand for free. So I just can't understand what these people that are in Congress in California have in their mind. They're thinking that this is a good idea. Like, why would anybody go for this? Why would all the rest of the people that are in Congress vote for this to happen, first of all? And why would the citizens of California support this when they can't even take care of all their citizens that are actually legal citizens? I mean, it makes zero sense, guys. It really does. It's already bad enough that they give people that really can't afford houses money to be able to buy houses, because it kind of puts them in a very precarious position. You're not in a good position financially. Your household income is very unstable, and they give people these chances to basically become homeowners, and it's kind of like a lottery ticket. If you if it's like sink or swim. Some people do well with it and they, take it as a huge blessing and turn their life around completely and become responsible homeowners. And then you have other people that just squander it away, like these people taking advantage of all the welfare programs. So according to the LA Times, last year, this program received 2,300 applications in less than 2 weeks before the program's applications were shut down. And the program will replace the first come, first served basis with a lottery. Here we have a house for sale for $4.47 million, and before you freak out about that, the original asking price was $7.32 million back a year ago in March of 2023, and dozens of price cuts later, they're down to $4.47 million. That is a 39% reduction in price, guys, and no sale. Talk about out of touch with reality. I don't think they're ever going to sell this house. Property tax bill here is $25,000 a year, and they only paid $1.625 million back in 2021. So once again, somebody else that wants to get triple for the house in just a couple years. Now, after hearing about this, it kind of made me wonder, is it actually legal or possible for an undocumented illegal immigrant to buy a house here in the United States? And the shocking answer is yes, it is, guys. And I was surprised to hear that, because I know that foreigners can buy real estate here. I've known that since I started in real estate. I've sold foreigners real estate here that are not US citizens. But all these people that have bought real estate here in Miami from me, for example, are well-to-do people, usually from Europe, that have, high incomes and buy either a second home here or a place that they come to use, several months out of the year. Or maybe they're just buying it as an investment property and they turn it into a rental. But this is a totally different animal. You're talking about people that are pouring over the border here that have no credentials, no income, and they're trying to give them a leg up on buying a property here. I mean, that's just wrong to me. I don't see any value for American citizens by allowing this to happen. But if you want to get a mortgage as an illegal immigrant, basically, all you need to do is get an ITIN number. Once you have that and you start paying taxes, you can get approved for special loans from private lenders, and you apply for an ITIN mortgage. And then from there, all they have to do is save for a down payment, which is substantial. They have to usually put 20 or 30% down. So I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty difficult for a lot of people. But if they work in numbers, you see a lot of people, they shack up with 10, 15 people in a house. A lot of people contributing to that pot can probably save that a whole lot faster than, an American couple trying to make ends meet, for example. But here's the ironic part, guys, because in order to get an ITIN mortgage, this is all through private lenders. These are not mortgages that are federally backed through FHA or Freddie Mac or anything like that. So the federal government actually won't loan people who are undocumented the money to buy a house. But funny enough, our private corporations in America will, because all they care about is money. They don't have any standards or morals on how this affects anybody else. All they care about is the profit margin. Because for them, look at it like this: we can charge them a way higher interest rate. They don't know anything, so we can charge them all kinds of fees. Also, when they're applying for the loan, and if they stop making the payments, we'll just foreclose on the property, sell it, make even more money, and turn around and do it all over again to somebody else. So from a corporation standpoint, having illegal immigrants buy homes is good business. And it also got me wondering, what kind of documentation these people have to provide. Because if you've ever bought a home and you have gone through the application process to get a mortgage, they basically ask you for everything except for your blood sample. It would be easier in the future if you just give them a piece of DNA and they can learn everything about your entire life, because the application process is so arduous, okay? But for these people, they ask for proof of income, they ask for information about credit history. They're not going to have any credit history. There's illegal immigrants. They ask for recent bank statements. How do you open a bank account without a driver's license or proof of residency? I don't know. They ask for identification documents such as passports or government issued IDs. Well, clearly it won't be from our government. They ask for proof of residency status, which they don't have. And they ask for proof of employment or self-employment. So how many of these documents can these people actually provide? I'm willing to bet that a lot of these applications are fudged just to get them through so they can get somebody in and start charging them, an 8.5% or 9% mortgage rate on a house and take their 20 or 30% down as well. And these lenders are sitting pretty. You know, they probably love these type of loans actually when you think about it. But the thing that makes no sense to me is like, these people aren't supposed to be here, right? And if the law was being enforced, then they would be deported back to their home country, right? So we have basically lawlessness happening, people pouring in here, and they're not being deported. They're all trying to cheat with this whole asylum backdoor. But you're able to buy property here, work here, even though you're not even supposed to be here. I mean, how do we allow this to happen, guys? How did it end up getting to this? I just don't understand how it got to this point, really. But like I said, I think nobody cares because a lot of people can make money off of this, you know? The lenders are making a lot of money, real estate agents make a lot of money, even local governments benefit from this because anytime there's a real estate transaction, they charge taxes. There's document stamps to be paid. There are fees that you pay in closing costs that go to your local government, and anytime there's more real estate transactions, it's more the merrier. Who cares who's buying it? Now there's one last thing I want to share with you guys here that I found very interesting. One of my viewers sent me this email that she received from her work, okay? And basically what this shows is that there's these programs out there that help subsidize people who would actually be unemployed and count as an unemployed person, not get counted as unemployed, which is actually helping to artificially lower the amount of our unemployment numbers right now. Take a look at this email. It says, do you know someone considering layoffs of their business? Let them know they can use the work sharing program and keep skilled employees instead. It's fast, simple, and flexible to participate. Employers cut hours and wages while we pay partial unemployment benefits. They avoid the cost of hiring and training new employees when business or the economy improves. So why on earth would they have something like this if the economy was great, guys? That's the case I keep making. Like, they wouldn't need to have stuff like this if the economy was actually doing well. These companies would all be begging to hire more people, and the job market would be actually booming with great full-time jobs that people can just work one job and pay all of their bills with that one good paying job rather than working 2 or 3 Mickey Mouse jobs and getting nowhere. And now they're giving companies this, you know, unemployment subsidy to keep people on the payroll, essentially. People who would actually otherwise be fired and be counted as unemployed are receiving these fringe benefits to kind of just linger on the payroll until the economy improves, like it says in the email. I mean, this stuff's really happening, guys. When I hear all this, I completely understand why a lot of Americans are leaving the country, because it's just like they don't want to be a part of this anymore. The other thing is, like, you move somewhere else and they have their own set of problems over there too. So no matter what, no matter where you go, you're going to face some sort of BS everywhere. But here it's just getting completely out of control. Well, let me know what you guys think about all this. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. That way you don't miss any of my future uploads. And if you don't want to wait for my next video to come out, check out this one on the screen right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.